Praise the Lord, children. How are you? Yes, let us learn the sixth lesson, Dream Repeated. Bible portion of this lesson is Genesis chapter 41. Memory verse of this lesson is Genesis chapter 41, verse 32. Theme of this lesson is God reveals us what is going to happen through the dream. Now let us learn the memory verse. Genesis chapter 41, verse 32. And the dream was repeated to Pharaoh twice, because the thing is established by God, and God will shortly bring it to pass. Now listen, children. At night, when we are asleep, do we not see and feel as we have gone somewhere and are being chased by someone? That we call as dream. Sometimes we see good dreams, sometimes bad dreams. One day, when a man of God was sleeping at night, he saw in the dream that the devils were dragging both his legs to put into the fire. He woke up at night and prayed for the sanctification. When God pointed out his mistakes, then he became the child of God. So in the Bible, if we read in Genesis chapter 41, Pharaoh the king ruled over the land of Egypt. One day, while he was sleeping, he had a dream. And behold, he stood by the river. Suddenly, there came up out of the river 7 cows, fine looking and fat, and they fed in the meadow. Then behold, 7 other cows came up after them out of the river, ugly and gaunt, and stood by the other cows on the bank of the river. And the ugly and the gaunt cows ate up the 7 fine looking and fat cows. So Pharaoh awoke. He slept and dreamed a second time. What is the dream? Suddenly, 7 heads of grain came upon one stalk, plump and good. Then behold, 7 thin heads, blighted by the east wind, sprang up after them. And the 7 thin heads devoured the 7 plump and full heads. Now it came to pass in the morning that his spirit was troubled, and he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt and all its wise men. And Pharaoh told them his dreams, but there was no one who could interpret them for Pharaoh. Then the chief butler spoke to Pharaoh, saying, I remember my faults this day. And he said everything about Joseph to Pharaoh. Why, when this chief butler was in the prison, Joseph was with him, and he interpreted the dream of this chief butler. Then immediately Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him quickly out of the dungeon, and he shaved, changed his clothing, and came to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to Joseph about his 2 dreams. So Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, it is not in me. God will give Pharaoh an answer of peace. Here Joseph humbles himself and lifted up God. Then Joseph said to Pharaoh, the dreams of Pharaoh are one. God has shown Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 cows are 7 years, and 7 good heads are 7 years. The dreams are one. And the 7 thin and ugly cows which came up after them are 7 years, and the 7 empty heads blighted by the east wind are 7 years of famine. Also Joseph said, Indeed, 7 years of great plenty will come throughout all the land of Egypt. But after them, 7 years of famine will arise, and all the plenty will be forgotten in the land of Egypt. And the famine will deplete the land, that it will be a great famine. So the plenty will not be known in the land because of the famine following, for it will be very severe. And the dream was repeated to Pharaoh twice, because the thing is established by God, and God will shortly bring it to pass. Now, therefore, let Pharaoh select a discerning and wise man and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land to collect 1/5 of the produce of the land of Egypt in the 7 plentiful years. And let them gather all the food of those good years that are coming, and store up grain under the authority of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities. Then that food shall be as a reserve for the land for the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land may not perish during the famine. So the advice was good in the eyes of Pharaoh and in the eyes of all his servants who were in that palace. And Pharaoh said to his servants, "Can we find such a one as this, a man in whom is the Spirit of God?" About whom did Pharaoh say this? Pharaoh told this about Joseph. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Inasmuch as God has shown you all this, there is no one as discerning and wise as you. You shall be over my house, and all my people shall be ruled according to your word. Only in regard to the throne will I be greater than you." And Pharaoh said to Joseph, "See, I have set you over all the land of Egypt." Then what did the Pharaoh do? Then Pharaoh took his signet ring of his hand and put it on Joseph's hand. And he clothed him in garments of fine linen and put a gold chain around his neck. And he had him ride in the second chariot which he had. And they cried out before him, "Bow the knee." So he set him over all the land of Egypt. Pharaoh also said to Joseph, "I am Pharaoh, and without your consent no man may lift his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt." Because Pharaoh made Joseph as the ruler over all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Saphnath Paneah. So Joseph went out all over the land of Egypt. What was the age of Joseph now? Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went throughout all the land of Egypt. Joseph married Asenath, the daughter of Potiphera, priest of On, and he had 2 sons. The name of the firstborn was Manasseh, and second one Ephraim. What's the meaning of Manasseh? For God had made me forget all my toil and all my father's house. What's the meaning of Ephraim? For God has caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. Now, what we understood from this lesson, God gives the gift of revelation to those who love Him. We must receive His wisdom. The Lord will fulfill all our shortcomings and bring us to higher places. For that, what we should do? We should obey God, we should flee away from sin, and we should humble ourselves and lift our God in all the places wherever we are kept. Okay, children, will you do? Yes. Okay. God bless you.